You know, we use the web pretty much every second of the day. But have you ever thought about what's going on underneath all the visuals? Behind the text and the images, there's this hidden structure, kind of like a digital skeleton. Today, we're going to peek behind the curtain and see how computers actually read that skeleton. And, as it turns out, there's more than one way to do it.
I mean, really think about that. When your browser opens a web page, it doesn't just see a big wall of text. It sees headings and paragraphs and links, all neatly organized. So how does a program make sense of all that? Well, that process is called parsing, and that's the big question we're going to unpack together.
So to get how programs read the web, we first have to understand the language that actually builds that structure in the first place. This is what I like to call the web's hidden skeleton. And that language is XHTML. Now, its job is super important, but also really specific. It's there to define the structure of a document. You know, what's a heading? What's a paragraph? It's not worried about the visuals like colors and fonts. That's for someone else to handle. XHTML is all about the bones, not the clothes. And you can see here, it comes from a pretty impressive family tree. XHTML gets its strict, rule-based personality from its parent, XML, which in turn comes from the granddaddy of them all, SGML. What this really means is that an XHTML document has to be perfectly formed, which makes it super predictable and way easier for a program to read.
Okay, so imagine you're a program, and someone hands you one of these perfectly structured XHTML documents. What now? How do you actually process it? Well, it turns out you have a choice. You can hire one of two very different guides to help you navigate it.
All right, let's meet our first guide. Picture yourself walking into a giant library. You need to find some information, and hey, maybe even rearrange a few books. To do that, you're going to need a perfect, really detailed map of the whole place. So, meet the DOM parser. You can think of it as this super meticulous librarian. Before this librarian will even talk to you, they insist on reading the entire book from cover to cover just to understand its complete structure. And here's how it works. The very first thing the DOM parser does is load the whole document into your computer's memory. Every tag, every word. Only after it's done all that does it build this perfect, hierarchical map, which we call a DOM tree. Once that map is built, you've got total freedom. You can jump to any chapter, any paragraph, any word, instantly.
This visual really shows you that transformation. You start with the raw XHTML code, all in a line. The DOM parser reads all of that and then turns it into this interconnected tree structure. See how the nested tags become different branches and leaves on the tree? That whole map is now sitting right there in your computer's memory, just waiting for you to explore it.
And this, right here, is the superpower of the DOM approach. It's called random access. Because the entire structure is right there in memory, you're not just a reader anymore. You get to be an editor. You can move paragraphs around, change text, add whole new sections, whatever you want. It's incredibly powerful if your goal is to actually modify the document.
But what if you don't need a map? What if you don't need to be an editor? What if you just need someone to read you the story from beginning to end without stopping? Well, for that, we need a totally different kind of guide.
And that brings us to the SAX parser. So forget the meticulous librarian. This guy is more like a master storyteller. The storyteller doesn't bother building a map. Nope. They just open the book and start reading it to you, page by page, right from the very beginning.
The storyteller's method is completely different. It's all based on events. As the SAX parser reads through the document, it doesn't store anything. Instead, it just announces what it finds as it goes. It's like it's firing off little signal flares. It'll say, hey, I just found the start of a paragraph. Then, here's the text inside, and then, okay, paragraph's over. Your job is just to listen for the signals you care about and react as they happen. The catch? The story only moves forward. You can't go back.
So why on earth would you choose the storyteller? Because they are incredibly efficient. Since they're not building a giant map in memory, they use almost no resources and they are blazing fast. This makes the SAX approach absolutely perfect for parsing enormous documents that might not even fit in memory, or for processing data as it's streaming in live over a network.
So there we have it, two very different guides, the librarian with the detailed map and the storyteller with the flowing tale. So, which one do you choose for your journey?
And this really is the most important thing to take away from all this. It's not about one being better than the other. The DOM parser and the SAX parser are just two different tools for two very different jobs. The smart choice always depends on what you're trying to do.
This table really puts our two guides side by side. You can see the trade-offs pretty clearly. The librarian, DOM, gives you that incredible flexibility, that random access to jump anywhere and make changes. But that power comes at a cost, high memory use, because it has to hold the whole map at once. The storyteller, SAX, is the complete opposite. It's incredibly light on memory, because it only looks at one piece of the story at a time. The trade-off is you only get one pass. You can't go back.
So it all just boils down to this one simple question. Are you building something where you need a complete editable map of your data, or are you just trying to listen for a few key moments in a long story as it unfolds? Your answer is going to point you to the right guide every time.
And that's really the heart of it all, isn't it? In programming and in so many other parts of life, we tend to look for the best or the most powerful tool. But as we've seen with DOM and SAX, real effectiveness comes from just understanding the challenge in front of you and then choosing the guide that's perfectly suited for that one particular journey.